I developed an AI for the prediction of mental illness. In this video, I'm going to take you through the rationale of the project, the method which was used, and the results. I am Isaac. I have a master's degree in bioinformatics, and this was actually my final year thesis for my master's project in bioinformatics. So the title of this project was Predictors of Internalizing Mental Disorders Among Ugandan Children and Adolescents Living with HIV, a machine learning approach. What was the rationale and the background of this project? Now, globally, HIV is still a burden. About 39 million people are affected. Now, over 90% of those affected do come from sub-Saharan Africa, where Uganda is found. Now, the children and adolescents living with HIV are at risk of internalizing mental disorders. These are disorders that you cannot really see that, oh, this one is having a mental condition, the other is having a mental condition. You cannot see external signs and symptoms. These conditions are PTSD, major depressive disorder, generalized anxiety disorder. Those were the three key mental condition that I was looking at. Children and adolescents with the HIV that do have these internalizing mental disorders have impaired quality of life, reduced adherence to antiretroviral treatment, poor social and academic functioning, limited ability to achieve their full potential in life, amongst other side effects. Though there are already existing studies that try to determine the risk factors or the predictors of these internalizing mental disorders, majority of them have used the conventional method, the traditional methods like logistic regression, the Poisson regressions, and those traditional approaches do struggle sometimes depending on the data type, data quality. However, machine learning approaches do have better predictive abilities, and it would help us to have a much more tailored intervention if we are able to predict someone's likelihood of developing any of these internalizing mental disorder. Can be PTSD, can be major depressive disorder, can be generalized anxiety disorder. So it was a very important project that we needed to carry out. The study concept is simple. We would be obtaining participants, about 736 from a previous study which was conducted, and we divided our predictors into three main categories. We had the psychosocial predictors, we had the biological predictors, and we had the genetic predictors. Under psychosocial, we had things like stress, whether somebody has social support or not, and their demographics information. Then under biological, things like telomere length, the CD4 count, the HIV viral load, WHO clinical stage of the HIV infection. Then under the genetic predictors, we were having different genes that had significant genetic associations after performing a genome-wide association studies. Then we use a machine learning model to try to predict someone's outcome of developing any of these internalizing mental disorder after a 12-month period. The method can be summarized into these 5 steps. So we had obtaining ethical clearance and retrieving of the data. We did data cleaning and feature engineering. This process involved removing missing values or imputing missing values in case that variable was very important. Feature engineering involves things like dropping off redundant variables. Highly correlated variables were totally dropped off because you don't have correlated variables. For example, there was height, weight, BMI. Now, BMI is obtained from height and weight. Therefore, having all the three within your model would, in the long run, affect the performance. So some of those were dropped. Then we had things like encoding, which involves converting strings dataset into numerical dataset, because the model would require you to have the numerical dataset. Now, this is a supervised machine learning model. So we had already the diagnosis of the different participants, and then we had all the other information about them, whether it is genetic, biological, or it was psychosocial. So we wanted to develop a model based on that information so that you can now use that developed model to predict other people in the near future. Then step C was to choose the algorithm. As I've said, it was supervised machine learning model. So different algorithms like the random forest, the logistic regression model, the support vector machines, amongst others, were used. Then D, we had now to go into the machine training, machine validation, and the machine learning testing. So we had to use 70% for the data in doing training, 10% in validation, and then 20% in testing the model to see its performance on unseen dataset. Then E, model completion, that involves things like doing feature engineering, trying to plot and see which features are the main contributors of the outcome that we are dealing with. In this case, internalizing mental disorder. In terms of the patient characteristics and the results, we can see that we had at least equal distribution in most of the areas. For example, under gender, almost we had equal distribution. Of course, the data was skewed in some other areas that we had no control over. For example, people's education level, religion, majority of the people in this study area, they are Christians. So at least some of those areas, we had no control over them. On the right hand side, we have the prevalence, that is the outcome of choice. As I've said, that our outcome of choice was prevalence of internalizing mental disorders. So the positivity rate was 14.3% and negativity was 85.77%. So what we're trying to predict is someone's likelihood of developing a condition, this 14.3% here. Then we had what we call model spot checking. So in machine learning, you have a step called model spot checking, which is more like you do have your 70% training data set that we talked about. You put it on to different algorithms, you train it, and you observe its performance. Okay, you train it and then you observe its performance. You get some metrics about its performance. In this case, the metrics we were using was called F1 score, but there are so many other metrics like the accuracy, precision. There are many other area under the curve. There are so many others that could be potentially used, but we chose to use the F1 score because we had, as I've said, imbalanced data set. So the moment there's imbalanced data set, you can choose the F1 score as your matrix of measurement. Of course, there are other alternative ways, for example, using smoothing. So smoothing method refers to oversampling or undersampling some variables, some predictors based on how abundant they are. So for example, let's say education level. Let's say you have very many illiterate and then you had many educated people. Okay, you had few educated people but very many illiterate. What you do is that you would sample few of the people who are not educated, the illiterate one, few of them, then you would sample very many, if not all, the educated ones, so that you can try to have a balanced kind of distribution among the two predictors. Problem is that works best if you're dealing with the non-health kind of models. Okay, models like, for example, forecasting the markets, those economic stuff and all that, things that are not going to affect human life. In this case, we are dealing with a health condition, and whatever you predict could likely lead to like treatment interventions or another medical intervention. So you wouldn't want to do those simulated kind of analysis where you could even generate a simulated data set, by the way, to like have an equal distribution. So you don't want to do simulation, you don't want to do oversampling or undersampling. You would want to go with how the data set is in the real world. So these are the different supervised machine learning algorithms that we tested, and on the right hand side we have the different categories. So we had a category of psychosocial predictors only. If we only use psychosocial predictors, how would the machine learning model perform? We can see that The best model was linear discriminant analysis at about 80%. Then if it's only biological, then we had AdaBoost, which is also at about 80%, 80.2%. If we only put the genetic information, then we were able to have about 79.6%. And if we combined every predictor, like sort of a multivariate analysis, then it was at 79.38, so it was even much lower instead. Now at this phase, you are then supposed to pick one model, right, at every, so in this case for the under psychosocial, so the best model now is going to be the linear discriminant analysis. This is that after models, that training validation phase, this is the results we get. But now we have trained validation and test. Now we have to test now this best model we have chosen from here to see if we give it unseen data set. Okay, if we give it unseen data set, how will the model perform? So the best models from here for psychosocial, we picked linear discriminant analysis algorithm. The best one under the biological was the AdaBoost. The best one under the genetic was the random forest. Then the best one under the combined model was also the linear discriminant analysis. When we subject them into unseen dataset, the test dataset, 20% dataset, the psychosocial predictors only, that model performed the best with the 82.76%. And then if you only use biological data, you'll have 80.85%, genetic data 80.85%. those are very similar. And then when you combine everything, you have 78.77%. You on unseen dataset. That is how our best models were performing. Now, feature importance, that would show us which predictors are the most important one. Here we are only displaying the feature importance for the combined model, that model that had every predictors all combined together. And we can see that somebody's telomere length at 12 months were the top most contributor to internalizing mental disorder. Meaning, if you have telomere attrition, which is associated with the cell death, then you're likely to have this mental condition. So possible explanation could be that if you have because telomere attrition is related to a higher rate of cell division, which is related to higher rate of cell death, because the moment cells are dying, then more needs to be replaced, so the cell division rate will be higher. Meaning, if that is happening within your neural pathway, then over time you're going to have sort of degraded cells. Allow me to use that term. More like now the cells will not be very healthy. That can affect your neural pathway. Therefore, you can then start developing those signs of mental illness. That could be the possible explanation. Then the second one was the baseline telomere length. Of course, this is also expected, because remember, these people are followed up. They were at baseline, they measured the telomere length, then at end line, they measured the telomere length. And for those ones who had changes in their telomere length, yes, they were the topmost people who are likely to develop the mental condition. But also, if at baseline you are having generally short telomere length at baseline, even before the follow-up period, then automatically you'd also be having higher risk. Then the third one is religion. This was a tricky one, and I even got asked a question during defense that what could be the reason why religion is in the top 5 predictors of the mental disorder. And it's tricky, but I would imagine that the religious teaching, remember, these are children and adolescents with HIV. What if the religious teachings are, you cannot go on having unprotected you know what, or maybe God will punishes people according to the Bible by disease that never heals. So some of those teachings probably can make an adolescent or a child to be like, now I'm already being punished, this will never heal. Then others will have things like the polymorphisms in this particular gene, gender of the child. In fact, more females are more likely to develop this condition. Stress level, a moment higher stress level who is always associated with a high likelihood of developing that condition. I think that is almost self-explanatory. The more stressed you be, you can easily develop some of these mental conditions. So that's what I've tried to explain here. Telomere length was significantly shorter in patients with a mental illness. That is already reported in previous studies. Stress. Psychological stress is linked to higher oxidative stress, lower telomerase activity, and shortened telomere length, which can contribute to biological aging in individuals, leading to mental illness. And also the HTT LPR1 polymorphism, which is found in this gene. That gene is very important for serotonin transportation, and it is important for controlling your serotonin level, and that serotonin level would help you in mood regulation and controlling anxiety. So meaning once you have that mutation, that genetic variant, then you will not, or it may be hard for you to control your mood, and you can develop these mental illnesses. Religion, as I've said, it could be a dual impact though. It sometimes, the preaching can offer you some coping strategies, or God heals, God is there for everyone, God forgives everyone. But sometimes maybe the preaching can in another way introduce stress on the people due to personal belief and due to their health challenges they're going through. So what are the take-home messages? According to this, is that there is a potential of machine learning models or AI in predicting internalizing mental disorders. And these mental disorders are mediated by so many factors, could be psychosocial, biological, and genetic, as we have seen. But psychosocial predictors, things like religion, gender, in fact, social demographic information, social support, and stress. Social demographic information, social support, and stress level. Those are the strongest predictors of internalizing mental disorder. Is this AI model good enough to be implemented? Okay, the simple answer is not quite. So the analysis was done on a very small sample size. We need like thousands data set from all regions across Uganda. So personally, I see the use case would be for patient sorting, which patients could need attention faster, like to see a medical person, physically see a medical person. So the number of psychiatrists in the country is low, and yet the patient load is a bit high. So we could reduce their workload by prioritizing patients that are having higher likelihood of developing the condition. We just screen them on this tool. You will punch in their social demographic information and all other information we can get. If they are more likely to develop the condition, we can send them to the medical doctor, and then they can have a chat, a talk. But if they're less likely, they'll be like, okay, first wait, maybe, probably. That could be an earlier use case scenario. But full-on prediction of internalizing mental disorder, not yet, not quite. We still need more data sets. Let me know what you think about this AI model. If you want me to do a deep dive on the different commands, I show you the codes used, the steps followed. If you really want that coding side of it, put it within the comment section. If many people request for it, then I could make a video that goes through all the lines of codes that were used. It would be nice to have to hear that from you. If you want to watch anything around research, just check on this next video on the screen. You are going to enjoy. See you next time.